Girl, first of all, let me tell you something. I was watching TikTok the other day, minding my business, scrolling around like I always do. And I saw this video that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And nothing rubbed me the wrong way more than going over to the comment section and seeing that these fools actually agree with this. So, before we even start, hey sis, how are you? I hope you're having a good day. Take a look at this video and we're gonna come back.
I remember being 15 years old and I asked my grandma, did grandpa ever cheat on you? She said, of course he did. My mouth hit the floor. Cause bitch, why are we still with him? I said, grandma, why didn't you leave him? She said, Naima, that man put all of my children through private school and I was never on any public assistance. She said the women used to call the house all the time and would be like, Helen, when you gonna leave? And she said, bitch, leave. Why? So you can have him?
You see it. You saw it. You see it too. Okay, so first of all, I tried to keep scrolling. I tried to mind my business. I tried not to get riled up. I tried not to respond. As you can see, that didn't work. So here we are. I'm responding. Because let's be honest, as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, as a Southern woman raised by traditional women, nothing about this video sat well with me. And you know, like I know, I have my own experiences with infidelity and stuff. So yeah, I got plenty to say. Pull up a chair, take a seat, and let's dive into it. Girl, today we're getting into it. We are going to talk about what people actually mean when they romanticize traditional relationships. Because most of the time they don't even know what they're talking about. They're just talking. They take no consideration of what these relationships actually cost women back then. What staying around or sticking around actually cost our grandmothers. Them women weren't sticking around just because. They were sticking around because they had no other options. And please, don't get me started about the men in the comments. It's 344 comments under that video. And a lot of them are men, loud, proud, and wrong, talking about stuff they don't even know about. Most of the men in that comment section couldn't even afford to provide the lifestyle that they're online pretending like they want. You want a traditional wife? But let's be honest. Can you even afford to be a traditional husband? Can you afford to pay all the bills and have your wife be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen all day? Or do you still need her to go to work so she can run you that 50-50? Because let's be clear, 50-50 is not traditional. It's not what granddaddy was doing. Now, he was doing a whole lot of something, but 50-50, that wasn't on the list. So let's break down the video. Basically, she asked her grandmother, had her granddaddy ever cheated? Her grandmama said, yeah, he was cheating a whole lot. She was offended. She asked her grandmama why she stayed. Her grandmother basically said she stayed because he was taking care of home. He was putting them kids through private school. She didn't have to work. And basically, if I'm honest, what grandmama said was she wasn't willing to give up her good man so that some heifer down the street could have him. And while that's not the life I live, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't empathize with what grandma was talking about or with her experiences. Because if we're gonna talk about traditional wives, especially as it relates to grandmama and granddaddy, because y'all love to be on social media talking about, I want what my granddaddy had. I want what my granddaddy had. These women don't act nothing like grandmama. Boy, shut up. Boy, shut up. Because if your granddaddy could see you now, he would be rolling in his low-down cheating grave. Be for real. But what we're not actually considering is that grandmama was oppressed. She wasn't choosing to be with granddaddy and choosing to look over his infidelity or his abuse. Because let's be honest, a lot of those women back then, because they didn't have rights, because they couldn't buy houses of their own, because they couldn't have bank accounts, certainly couldn't have credit cards, most of them couldn't even have driver's license, and they actually had no rights within their own home, which means that those men, those granddaddies, they could knock her head between the washer and dryer and there was nothing she could do about it. She couldn't call the police because she didn't have any rights in her own home. So leaving wasn't really an option. She didn't have a job. She didn't have a bank account. She couldn't buy a home and she couldn't drive. And she got 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. Where was she going? So while y'all are out here romanticizing this traditional relationship, what that actually was oppression. Grandmama wasn't choosing She was surviving. And that's a big difference. Okay, so let's talk about these comments. Because if I'm honest, it was really the comments that did it for me. Reading through those comments, baby, the flabbers gassed it. I was shocked. I probably shouldn't have been shocked because I know how y'all be acting on social media. But I was shocked. But before we get into the shocked, let's talk about what some of the girls were saying. Some of y'all got plenty of sense. And I appreciate you, sis. Because I definitely thought I was going to be fighting for my life in the comments. But when I got there, some of y'all had already pulled up. So let's talk about Kim. Kim says, because grandma didn't have her own money. So she had to stay because she was dependent on him. Now, Kimmy girl, I'm with you when you're right. And today, you're right. And you know how I know you was right? Because that one comment had over 1,500 likes. Plenty of y'all got plenty of sense. Because y'all know this was not a good time for grandmama. She was not choosing. This was not some fairy tale. This was not a love story. What it actually was a woman making the best decision out of what she had. Which, if we honest, it wasn't much. But they got the nerve to be sitting here in 2026 romanticizing oppression. Crazy. Okay, let's move on to Sunny. Baby Sunny said, and grandmama had her little piece too. Now Sunny got over 900 likes. Sunny girl, hush, be quiet. Sunny girl, you know you was wrong for that, right? Now while I did have my little chuckle, I did laugh. Let's have a serious moment. I'm going to put my therapist hat on because I believe in nuance. And I'm going to say this professionally. When people feel like they're trapped, they will do almost anything to cope. Right, wrong, or indifferent. So if she was stepping out, while I don't give permission and I don't excuse the behavior, it's a result of the trauma. Her stepping out wasn't her getting her lick back. Her stepping out was finding a way to cope in a financial prison. That's not the same as your little boyfriend stepping out, you being mad, and you getting your lick back. This was Granny trying to cope. This isn't a flex. This is human. This was human response. Human response to trauma, to oppression. But when we're talking about the traditional life, we oftentimes leave that out. We leave out the trauma, the oppression, and the ways in which our grandmothers and great-grandmothers felt like they had to cope. Okay, last one. Let's talk about Fortified and Unleashed. I don't know Sis's real name. That's her screen name. That's what we're going with. And Sis said, stayed for money and financial stability, risked her health. Nope. Also, I said, sis, I don't actually know the gender of Fortified and Unleashed, so we're not going to call them sis because that might actually be a brother with a good head on his shoulder. So we're just going to call them Fortified. And Fortified is pointing out something that we never talk about. I have never heard anybody mention the health risk associated with staying in an environment as it relates to staying in an environment that has chronic infidelity, emotional unavailability, and let's be honest, instability. Because that has real mental and physical consequences. That's not just stress. That's elevated cortisol. That's increased anxiety. Baby, that's compromised immune systems. And we're not even talking about STIs yet. Because if you know like I know, baby, them old men wasn't strapping up nothing except they boots to go to work. And then having the nerve to bring their old tails home and lay beside grandmama. And leaving her body to keep the score of their circumstances. Circumstances not only did he not want to address, but that he also had no desire to change. So please, feel free to miss me with this idea that she was good because she was being taken care of, when there are whole medical charts that say otherwise. Okay, let's get into what the men had to say. And as you know, like I know, they showed up, showed out, and showed their tail in this comment section. Defending the traditional relationship and granddaddy's right to cheat because he was paying the bills. Now remember, these are the same red pill men that loudly protest that they ain't spending no money on women, but they're defending their right to do something they can't even actually afford to do in the first place. Pay all them doggone bills. Boy, please. Many of these men are holding the grandfather in this story to some gold standard. Why? I'm not sure. That's not true. I am sure. Because back then, men didn't have to try. They didn't have to make the effort because they had privilege, right? They had privilege and they had the right to abuse and oppress. They had the money, they had the bank accounts, they owned the home, they owned the cars, and on the rare occasion that they wanted to keep the kids, if grandmama did decide to leave, they owned the kids too. So they got to live however they decided that they wanted to live. And it is my assumption that the current men who agree with stuff like this, what they're really saying is they want that. They want the ability to do whatever they want to do without any real consequences. And their frustration comes about because women today have options. And we're choosing not to deal with it. And not only are they confused as to why, they're angry because they feel like they have somehow missed out on a life that they somehow feel entitled to. They feel entitled to oppress their wives, to oppress women, period. And let's be honest, the reason that a lot of people agree or even act like they miss traditional relationships, it's simple. It's really not that hard to understand. They miss it because there was a simple and clear definition of power and where power lived and how it was structured in those relationships. It was easy. He provides, she submits. He had the power, she did not. And because he's the one with the power, his behavior gets rationalized. It gets chalked up to the cost of business. But the upsetting and frustrating part of that is that power structure only works if women have no other options. If we have no other options for survival except men. Because the moment we had options, the moment we had education, income, legal rights, and most importantly, the moment we got community support, the moment we started supporting each other, hyping up each other, cheering on each other, being there for each other, we chose differently. The moment we got options, we used them. We used them to escape the traps and prisons that the women before us were held captive in. And whether people want to believe it or not, if grandmama had those same options, I can guarantee you a lot of them would have also chosen very differently. And the men in these comment sections, the ones romanticizing traditional relationships, the ones romanticizing the ability to oppress their romantic partners, they're not angry that relationships changed. They're angry because women have options, because we have choices. And because now we have choices, they can no longer rest on their laurels. They can no longer rest on their privilege. Because we didn't have the option to leave, they didn't have to actually make any effort. They didn't have to be emotionally intelligent. They didn't have to be intelligent at all. They didn't have to be present. They didn't have to help raise kids. They didn't have to think about anything except what they wanted. They just showed up with their wallet and we had to accept it. But because now we have our own wallets, shout out to Louis Vuitton, we get to express free will. You know free will. It's mentioned in the Bible, the same book those same men love to quote about traditional women, about women of Proverbs. Yeah, those women were also granted free will by God as well. But because those men, the types of men who enjoy oppressing women, also like to play God, they don't want you to have access to the rights given to you by God. That was good. I'm very proud of that. I just thought of that on the spot. See? Educated. Income. I'm every woman at this point. What was I saying? Okay, yes. But because now we have options, they can't just show up with their wallets. They have to bring other things to the table. But the truth is, y'all are spoiled. Okay? Y'all don't want to hear it, but y'all are spoiled. Society has taught you that you don't have to do anything. And the audacity of women within the society to require otherwise. To require you to be emotionally intelligent. to require you to make effort, to require you to be a partner. Shame on us. Well, shame on them, because I don't want you. But let's be for real. That's why you mad. You're not mad or angry that women now have autonomy. You're angry that now you have to do some work. You have to do some internal work. You have to show up and perform. That now provision is not enough. Because we have our own provisions. In fact, in some communities, hello somebody, we have more provisions than you. So I'll ask again, what is it that you bring to the table? Just you? Tuh. You can get up at this point. In fact, some of my friends are coming and we're going to have a little potluck. So that seat is taken. Toodles. Because one thing about women, we're going to build community and support for each other. If there are others, specifically romantic partners, who won't fill the gaps, we will stand in the gap for each other. We will bring dishes for the community together. We will provide a potluck around this table to make sure that everybody eats. We will watch each other's children. We will be there for each other. We will cry on one another's shoulders. We will support each other. We will clap at one another's graduations, because you know we are graduating at crazy rates. Hello, educated women. I love that for us. We will be there and stand in the gap for each other. We have community. And I'm going to be honest, the ways in which men are responding to the growth and the advances of women is really harming men. And I'm going to take a step back from the topic at hand, and I'm going to say this. It hurts me to see you guys lonely and bitter and angry all the time. I read those comments that you're posting. Y'all are sad, and not sad in a derogatory way, sad emotionally. But instead of harvesting that emotion, planting it, and letting something else grow from it, growth, change, you're harboring it and just letting it fester and turn into rage. And if you know, like I know, baby, rage will kill you. It's not worth it. Go get you some therapy, talk to somebody, heal some things, grow into a better version of you so that hopefully you don't have to die alone. The truth is, I don't want that for you, bro. I really don't. Okay, so what are we actually saying? What am I actually saying? Because the truth is, I want to be fair. I am not, and this video is not anti-commitment. Obviously, babes, I don't mind a commitment. I made another one. I love to be married. Shoot. God forbid this doesn't work out, I'll be married again. But this is not an anti-marriage video. This isn't even an anti-man video. Most men are actually pretty great. Well, the ones I know in real life are actually pretty great. If the sample set were the men on social media, I don't know if I could proclaim the same. I'm just being honest. And since I'm being honest, I'm not even saying that traditional values don't have any place. Because I truly believe that some of those values do hold a very special and very necessary place in society. Not all, but definitely some. So what it is that I'm actually saying in this video, as a therapist, as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, is this. Commitment is beautiful. Partnership is beautiful. And a romantic partner who actually shows up, who desires to protect, provide, and to be there emotionally with you, that's also beautiful. And I'm not against any of that. What I am against, what I will always be against, is romanticizing a system that only works if women don't have a choice. If women have to be oppressed for the system to function. And while grandmama didn't have options, I still want to give her her flowers. Because she was strong and she was resourceful and she made it work with what she had. But the goal is never regression. The goal is never to recreate the systems or conditions that require that kind of strength. The goal is always for every generation to get better. The women have stepped up to the plate. We've gotten better. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of you men have stepped up to the plate too. You've gotten better. But the ones in this comment section, the ones in that little red pill university, the ones in the manosphere, y'all are struggling. You guys are regressing, and you're receiving those consequences for that regression at your own fault. Because no matter what we think, the truth will always be that no one deserves to be trapped by anyone. Man, woman, non-binary, no one. Everyone deserves choice. Everyone deserves option. Everyone deserves to choose their love. They deserve to show up and have someone show up for them, because that is what healthy love actually looks like. That is what the kind of love that I want for myself looks like. Shoot, that's what the kind of love that I want for you looks like. It looks like having a choice. It looks like being chosen. Don't nobody want to be with somebody that's only with them because they have to be. People want to be chosen. I want to be chosen. I know you want to be chosen. I don't want someone with me because they have to be with me. I want them to be with me because they want to be with me. Because they think I'm amazing and beautiful and wonderful and spectacular and all the things, right? That's what you want. That's what I want too. Because that's what love really is. It is to be chosen. It is to be chosen every single day. But we can only experience that if we all have options. Okay, drop a comment and let me know what you think. Do you think that women today are using our options well? Or do you think that we've overcorrected? Do you think we're doing too much? And don't be shy. I really want to hear and know your perspectives. If you know anything about me, I read and respond to every single comment. Now, I'm not going to argue, but I will respect where you're coming from as long as you come from a place of respectfulness. Because this is a safe place. It's a safe place for you, and it's a safe place for me. And it's a safe place for us to grow together. And if this is your first time here, I'm Dr. Didi Wednesday. I'm a licensed therapist, a professor, a wife, a mommy, a motivator. And if I'm honest, I'm really just a little southern country girl trying to do her part to help women heal together. And I would absolutely love if you would stick around and subscribe and join our little community so you can grow and glow and heal with us. And as always, I love you. And I hope you have an amazingly blessed day. Mwah. Bye. I'm looking for, yeah, it's that in the VIP.